When is a ballroom not a ballroom? When Donald Trump deems it a military complex. That's what he told the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court so far is siding with Donald Trump today, letting him continue the construction of the ballroom pending the disposition of his case before the Supreme Court. What happened today was two lower courts had said Trump has to stop construction. Construction would have stopped, I believe it's tomorrow. And the Supreme Court said, well, we're still considering the case. And while we're considering it, Trump can continue to do the construction. But maybe they'll change their mind once they finalize the case, right? Once they reach a decision. Well, what Trump is now arguing is two things. One, it's a military complex. The ballroom? The ballroom. He wanted the ballroom for parties. Remember, that's what he said. We need a big ballroom for state visits. Now it's a military complex important for the defense of the Capitol. Yeah, sure. Why is Trump saying that? Because the courts give a president much more leeway, much more deference if he is acting as the commander-in-chief rather than the Liberace-in-chief, who simply wants a golden ballroom because that's what dictators want. If he wants to defend the Capitol with a military structure, then the court's going to go, well, we're a little more uncomfortable kind of making a decision there when it comes to national security. That's why Trump is doing it. The other argument his lawyer's making, which is really quite astounding, well, we're already 65% of the way through, so I know you say that there is a law on the books that says the president can't do this, but we're almost done. It would be unfair to stop now. So the lesson here is that if you break the law, break it really big and break it really fast. Do as much damage as you can, do as many crimes as you can, so that you can tell the judge, hey, judge, that crime I was doing, I'm almost done. It would be unfair to make me unrob the bank now. That's what Donald Trump is now saying. It's really outrageous. Let's see what happens. This Supreme Court, I don't have a lot of hope, but nonetheless, that's where things stand today.
Breaking news, big win for Donald Trump. The United States Supreme Court allows Donald Trump's ballroom construction to move forward, pending a further order from the United States Supreme Court. Chief Justice John Roberts issued an unsigned order overturning, essentially staying the preliminary injunction issued by a lower court that would have forced Donald Trump to stop building his ballroom today. Trump can now continue his construction of the ballroom until such time that the Supreme Court decides to weigh in on the case. Now, the Supreme Court likely will potentially never weigh in on this case because Trump's already building this ballroom. And the Supreme Court can just say, we're just going to pause it indefinitely until Trump ultimately builds the ballroom. But big win for the president. More updates for you soon. We'll see what happens next. Spread the word. Follow.
The out-of-control Supreme Court just allowed Trump's ballroom construction to go forward. I'm going to explain to you, as someone who practiced as a trial lawyer for 13 plus years, including tons of appeals at the state and federal level, why this is so totally ridiculous. All right. So what you had is John Roberts issue an order basically staying a preliminary injunction that was issued in the district court. What does that mean? Basically, it means the trial court, the district court, found after holding a mini trial, all right, hearing facts and evidence, that Donald Trump was likely to be found in violation of the law after this thing went to a full-blown trial, a few months down the road. Getting an injunction is an extraordinary remedy. When a trial court issues that, it finds that basically the evidence is overwhelming, it's pretty much absolutely clear, and they're not overturned really very often at the appellate court level. And why is that? Because there are factual and evidentiary findings. The court has to sit there at the trial court and analyze the credibility of witnesses, has to listen to what they say, deal with their inconsistencies. Always in the law, a trial court is better situated to make those decisions because they actually watch it happen in their courtroom. Appellate courts are just looking at a piece of paper, listening to a record. It's not the same. So for John Roberts to overturn that means basically he's overturning something that almost never happens. It's ridiculous. It's clearly illegal. And for him to do this, it just proves yet again, we need Supreme Court reform. Everything we can do without a constitutional amendment, whether it's packing the court or anything else, we need to do it. We got to do it. And in 2028, it has to be a litmus test for the presidential candidate. They're out of control. They are politicians, activists, judges in robes. Just a fact. Just a fact.
You just had the DC Appeals Court panel ruling that President Trump cannot simply tear down parts of the White House and construct a brand new 90,000 square foot ballroom without getting explicit approval from Congress first. And the court didn't pull punches, writing for the majority with the judges flat out stating each president is a temporary tenant, not the owner of the White House and its executive residence, saying the president has no and claims no constitutionally assigned authority over that property. They're basically just reminding Trump and the world that he is a tenant, not the landlord. And of course, this is coming after a years-long battle after the administration just went out and demolished the historic East Wing to break ground on this massive ballroom. But Congress never gave the president the right to do this, nor the funding. And so Trump claimed that it was going to come from a discretionary account that the White House has given for routine maintenance, and the massive shortfall would be covered by private donors who wanted to get in Trump's good graces. Via the National Trust for Historic Preservation suing, arguing that doing a major overhaul using private funds bypasses basic federal preservation laws and congressional oversight. But as far as the question of does construction then stop today, No, right? Because you had the court putting a 14-day hold on its own order to give the White House time to appeal. And they very obviously, if they haven't already done it by the time that you watch this, are going to ask for the Supreme Court to step in. And of course, in the meantime, Trump's plan to just start his vanity project and ask for forgiveness later, it means that there's this massive, ugly pit where a historic building used to be.
It's amazing what the average media house in the US calls news and trends on. So Trump is having his ballroom, something that no president in the history of the United States has done. This administration and government has pushed every limit of the Constitution of the United States. It has pushed every limit, abuse of executive powers and laws, and in this case it appears that the Supreme Court is swinging in his direction, while the people who are in Indiana for the past 2 weeks are getting little or no attention. A population of black people in pitch darkness is not getting a central attention. Rather, it's $1 billion or $500 million project that has nothing to add to the day-to-day life of the average American. When there's economic crunch, the price of groceries are up, houses are not affordable, people are barely trying to live by, the price of gas is high. Yet this administration deems it that this is what it calls, important, to create a ballroom. From a ballroom, he's now saying, no, we need to create an intelligence center for Washington, D.C. When we originally know what his intent was, he made it known from day one when he set out to begin to destroy the west side of the, White House. And so a lot of people are calling for, a reform of the judiciary, a reform of the Supreme Court. What is it that the Supreme Court can legislate and what it cannot legislate? Because what this administration has revealed is the major loopholes that are in the judicial system of the United States, and it is exploiting it to its advantage. Every time they keep pulling, every time they keep trying, every time they just keep, going the extra mile to see what is allowed and what can be allowed. And this is so sad to see in the 21st century. In 2026, seeing this level of abuse of power, the United States is gradually turning into a fascist state. So if you're coming across my YouTube channel, you're welcome. Please, can you give me a thumbs up and a like if you like what we do? All credit to the original content creators for these clips and skits that we have put up. Let the conversation begin in the comment section. I want to know what your thoughts, your opinions are. Trust to see you again on our next video. Thank you guys. You are the reason why we do what we do. I appreciate you.